Our family, well, it's Friday and it must be just after 10 o'clock because here we are. Jeff Rogers, you guys know me. Amber Dollison, our resident in-house social media guru and marketing genius. And of course, Monica. So Monica Benavides from the Small Business Development Center. You guys saw her last week and hopefully next week and etc. from here on out.
We'll see how it goes with my boss.
We're going to chain her to the table. So, it's business week. It's like leg day, but with business.
Never skip leg day.
Oh man.
One of my favorite marketing campaigns ever. Because everyone knows what that is. That's okay. So this week we are going to be talking about should you start a business? That comes up a lot. And I know SBDC, I know that's one of the things you deal with kind of on the regular, right? So.
Yes, absolutely. We deal with feasibility of a business and whether or not a person is ready, either credit-wise, monetarily-wise, or mentally, really, to start a business because it is a big venture.
It really is. You have to be dedicated. So what are the things that you say, well, maybe you're not quite ready yet, or maybe this is the time to move forward?
Credit scores. Definitely a big factor, especially if you don't have any credit. You need to get credit, especially if you're looking at getting a business loan to start your business. We have lender Q&A coming up on our upcoming newsletter, and we actually talk about that a little bit. And experience in the field. Y'all have to have experience in the kind of business that you're trying to start.
That is so true.
Yeah, it's...
I feel like I've worked in a lot of kitchens.
Yeah.
So when I would meet new food trucks and they never worked in a kitchen before, I was always like, I don't know how do I do? I hope you can. And some of them did really, really well, but there was definitely a steep learning curve that they had to get used to.
Yes.
So yeah,
it's starting from the ground up.
It's a lot easier if you know what you're doing first before you try to do it on your own.
Yes, and also having a checklist of things that you need to have prior to this, like contacts. Who are you going to get, or when are you going to get your DBA? Do you know what a DBA is?
Right.
Your EIN. Do you know what an EIN is, etc. And having somebody there for guidance also.
I think that's pretty huge. Whether it's SPDC or just somebody that has a business or a professional consultant like we are, no matter who it is, somebody who's been through it before.
Mm-hmm.
I tell folks all the time, sure, of course there's a checklist to get started on a business. Of course there's a lot of things you have to get ready. But if you're going to get out there, you're going to screw it up 100 times. And that's really what you need to do to know if you're going to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you screw it up with no safety net, with no backup, with no support, somebody who hasn't done it before, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And it's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Amber, I know you've dealt with a lot of, through the farmer's market and through some of your experience, you've dealt with a lot of folks that are just really in that startup stage.
Yeah, in micro business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. So.
And I think that's what's really cool about things like the farmer's market is you can kind of start that micro business and you can make a bunch of mistakes and there's just a lot of grace in that kind of atmosphere. So if you're starting a food-based business or if you're starting at like a craft or an art-based business, getting into those smaller markets is a good idea because those customers are super forgiving, and you need that. You so need that.
Part of your support system.
Yeah, they're cheering you on. They're like, this wasn't the best product I've ever had, but you're doing great. Keep trying.
Yeah,
that's huge. A support system.
Huge.
Don't let me forget to go back to the support system because I want to say something like from a financial perspective and from a business perspective. What you're talking about is a low barrier to entry, which means it doesn't have a high cost.
No.
And there's not a high cost of failure. So if you start your business on a small level, sell a small number of products to a small number of people. If it goes right, great. If it goes wrong, then it's you're not in for $100,000. You didn't build a factory to make your product before you found out that it was a challenge. So reducing that barrier to entry is sort of an offset to that. Do you need a giant bank loan?
Yes.
And so that's a really good one. But social support. You were talking about social support.
Yes,
so go back
absolutely.
To that.
Well, I just think, support is such a big deal. Like having people who are going to be on your side. You don't want to
And not just family members and friends.
Not just family members.
I think it's stronger if it's somebody else outside of your normal circle. Yeah. That way.
That is what I love about Corpus Christi. I feel like Corpus Christi really loves to give new businesses a chance.
Yes.
You know, like there's a new restaurant, everybody wants to try it. And if the food's not fabulous the first time around, everybody's willing to try it again.
Yeah.
You know?
And 5 stars for now.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Give it another go.
Yeah.
And I haven't found that in every community. Which I love about Corpus Christi. I think we're lucky guys. We're really lucky.
I agree.
And as far as a startup is concerned, you know, there's sort of a horde of people that all go to the new thing in Corpus Christi, and that's great for startups because that first sale, you know, listen, as a small business, when you first start out, you're going to fail, and you're going to fail a lot, and you're going to fail really, really hard, and it's going to be painful. And the decision maker for a small business is what you do when that happens. It's do you change or, you know, do you quit? And so being able to get over that first failure very, very quickly, you know, I mean, if you get 100 people in the first 2 weeks, you probably won't.
Let's be real.
But you know what I mean. If you are able to make those sales wrong, the first 100 times in a short amount of time, then you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't work, and you can start to forecast and plan. So, you know, fail quick, fail hard, fail cheap.
Yes, as cheap as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so, on planning, so Monica and I, we have an ongoing debate. Let's get into that.
Can we zoom into my face right now?
So we have an ongoing debate into business planning.
Yes.
And first off, I want to say we both definitely agree on all the steps. We just put them in a different order. Preparation and planning is definitely one of the specialties of the SBDC. They help you build a structure that's going to be sustainable and successful when you come to starting a small business. Hey guys, just to jump in, Amber is live on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm looking for your questions.
So,
if you've
she's
got
not
any.
distracted by
There's not like something more important happening.
I'm not texting and videoing.
You're the important thing that's happening right now. So she is live on Facebook. She's watching it. If you guys have questions, comments, and especially, you know, we're about to get into talking about business plans and business preparation. So if you've got questions, comments, concerns, you think we're totally off base, please throw in. You think we're totally on base, or you're wondering what the hell's going on, please just jump in and do that, because she's keeping an eye for your questions and comments, and we will definitely all respond to them live and in person.
Yeah, or whatever you guys want to hear about later.
Yeah, right?
If you guys have questions on other topics.
You've got a brain trust right here that's supporting your business, so grab a hold. We've all been doing this a long time. Collectively, I'm not going to tell you how many years we've been doing this.
Let's not.
I recently had a birthday that I don't want to admit to, but so business planning, business preparation.
Yes.
Is it the right time to start a business? I think that's kind of where we disagree a little bit. So tell me a little bit about the SBDC process, and then I'll tell a little bit about the Jeff Rogers process.
The Parvar process. Yeah. Oh, that sounds not catchier. Okay, so we like to focus on developing a foundation for businesses. So with the business plan, it's really getting the idea for the business out of the client's head and onto paper, so that way it's real. Because in people's heads, ideas go like all over the place, right? But on paper, it kind of like consolidates all of that great information into one cohesive document that you can go into. Let's say you go to a lender and you want to get lending to start your business. You have it right there. It's all right there, and it's an insight into your brain and into what your hopes and dreams are for your business. And that includes projections. Like our advisors help with projection, with 3-year projections or
financial
projections. Financial projections, yes. We also include in their market research. We have the GIS program, the Geographical Information Systems program, which helps with market research. It also helps not just like demographics and people that would buy, but also competition, like who your competition would be. And we have access to the SBDC net that we also include in the business plan. So it's really just setting that foundation down to get all of your thoughts in one pot. Like it's tangible, you can put it in front of somebody and they'll be able to look through your head, essentially.
Well, and I think there are real benefits to that. The business plan is, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? So there are definitely real benefits to that, and they are that you have to think it through before you do something useful. You have to apply yourself in a way that's structural. Mm-hmm. The other thing is it acts as sort of a barrier to entry, right? Like, am I willing to go through the 6 months it takes to write a, 3 months, 2 months with an advisor probably to write a business plan? How dedicated am I to this? The next thing is it shows you how much money it costs to start a business, because guys, it costs a lot of money, and you're going to lose a lot of money, and you're going to make a lot of huge mistakes, and there's definitely going to be months when you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my mortgage? That's real. That's really real. So being able to put that on paper and know if it's real. The second thing is, if you want to start a business with a bank loan, a business plan and financial projections are non-negotiable. They will not even talk to you unless they've seen that. Mm-hmm. So, so that said, I definitely think business planning is really, really important. I think that the process it takes to start a business planning has to be in there somewhere. I don't think it should be at the beginning. But I would say that starting a business to me is it starts with a birth. It starts with an idea and a concept. It starts with hey, is it possible for me to create this dream? And I think early success is so vital, and early failure is so vital, that before you create a business plan, you don't even know what's real. There's an old adage that's been adapted for business that says, no business plan survives first contact with the customer. Business plan and thinking it through is really, really good, but until you've screwed it up really good, or until you've had your first success, it's all theoretical. Mm-hmm. And so usually what I tell folks when they're starting a business is, yes, of course you want to make a business plan, but the first thing you want to do is go sell to your family. Figure out what your product is or your service is, or go sell it to somebody that you know personally, because they're going to tell you what's wrong, they're going to tell you what's right. They're going to probably tell you in a supportive way. Immediate siblings, for some reason, don't seem to do that. But either way, they're going to be real. They're going to be real. And so a business plan, I think, is really vital. But honestly, guys, I don't think it comes first from my perspective. By the time you go sit down with somebody at the SBDC, you're probably ready for a business plan, because you've said, you know what, I'm in. Yeah. But right before that is a moment when you have to look across the table from somebody and say, hey, I'd really like you to give me money for this idea I just had. And as soon as you do that, things start to come into focus. And then you can say, how can I sell it to somebody? So that's the debate we have, is whether or not the business plan comes first.
Well, and I think from my perspective, I think what you two are talking about is the same, but it's different. Because you're talking about starting a micro business before starting a small business, and you're talking about going straight into a small business. And I think there's a difference. I mean, if you're a restaurant, realistically, you can't really start a micro business first. I mean, you could sell things at a farmer's market or do some catering or something like that, but if you're going into a restaurant building, like, you've got to have it all together. The only difference would be, like, maybe a food truck could be a micro business.
Or I would tell folks, listen, grill at the house.
Grill at the house.
Right? Like, or whatever you're thinking.
Talk to Aislinn first. A cottage law.
Right.
Yeah, well, cottage law is a real deal.
Yeah. But there's always some sort of hack, right?
Yeah,
like, if you want to start a restaurant, then
do some pop-ups or something.
Or just have everybody over to your house, charge a $5 cover, and then see how many people pay.
Donation based.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not charging for the food. I'm charging to get into my house.
Yeah.
Right. The food comes for free.
But what you're talking about is experimenting with a micro business before you go into even business planning for a small business, and that is actually really smart. Trying to get some of those quirks worked out. Like, I've tried this 50 times.
Right.
I've figured out what my recipes are. I've figured out what this is. And I don't know why I keep going back to food, but that's what I'm at.
It's your background.
It's early and I haven't eaten breakfast, so am I giving you food vibes?
No.
Next week we'll have tasting.
I'm going to be like,
So I think maybe that's it. Is that I just think of the process a little earlier, but in reality, you're talking about starting a bricks and mortar type of business, or from your house type of business that requires a large investment.
Yeah, we have a lot. Well, it's really we just try and guide people in the right direction, and honestly, business plans help with feasibility.
Yeah.
Because when they put it down on paper, they think, "Oh my goodness, I have no market here. There are 12 Mexican restaurants on my block. Why am I going to try and start another one?" You know? So it's more kind of a reality check also.
Well, and that reality check, I mean, as a business, you know, we didn't start out as a marketing company. We started out as a consulting company that happened to do marketing, and now we're a marketing and consulting company. Mm-hmm. And it was because we had to adapt. Our goal was always to help small businesses succeed. This is the thing that they needed the most, and so that part of our business grew, part of our design. And so that being able to rule out something very early or know that you have to adjust, maybe that restaurant isn't a Mexican food restaurant, maybe it has to be an Italian food restaurant. Well, listen, do you want to own a business that's a restaurant, or do you want to own a Mexican food restaurant? Because you got two options: move, right, or change. And so there's real benefit to that, really. Like, and being able to say, maybe this isn't the right thing for this market, maybe you have to adjust. And do you want to be a business owner, or do you want to be a specific business owner?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You have to be adaptable no matter what. If you're in business, you have to be adaptable to
That's
the market,
so
right?
Yeah.
And
keep an open mind.
Because it's about you, but it's not about you.
Yes.
Like you have to at the end of the day, you have to pay the bills. So you have to sell something.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily about what you want. It's what everybody wants from you.
Yeah.
And that's the key to business success in any kind of business. I think it's about what the person wants to buy, not necessarily what you want to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, big hard question. At the SBDC, I know that I've had to do it a couple of times. What do you do when somebody comes in with an idea that's just not feasible? You're not going to be able to sell the quantity you need to be able to sustain this business.
Our financial projections help with that. Mm-hmm. If it's not feasible, maybe they need to tweak their idea a bit, or maybe it's just not the right time. We try and guide them that way. If they are set on starting it no matter what, and they're willing to take a loss, then of course we're not going to stop them. We're just there to advise. Right. However, we will lay out what their future might look like for at least 3 years and what kind of loss they would take. If it's somebody that doesn't have experience in that field, something like that, we try and suggest, like, hey, maybe you should check this other competition out, or get in touch with somebody that's already in the field, and it kind of make them network within that to hopefully guide them into their own realization that it's not feasible for them. Yeah,
and building on your strengths can be really, really huge. Yeah. Getting some direct experience on it, it sounds strange to say, but sometimes it's about going back to school, but in a different way. Mm-hmm. It's about getting some experience that's specific to that.
Yeah.
When you start a business, you have to be in with your whole heart. But all right. So here's my pro tip, and I know that you guys will have some thoughts on this too. But folks ask me all the time, well, how am I going to support a business? Like, if I'm going to start a business, it takes so much money. It helps to have a benefactor, somebody in your family that supports you, but sooner or later, you got to pay the mortgage. It may be that you have to get a job. So here's my tip: is get a crappy job. Get a job that you don't like. Deliver pizzas or whatever it takes to barely make the rent. Because not starting your business has to be more painful than starting your business. And if you take 40 or 50 hours a week and you dedicate it to someone else's business, and your goal is to grow a business, then it's going to go to that. Yes. You're going to say, well, I can't fit my business, and then it's going to die a slow death. And so, make sure your business is feasible. Give it a shot. Sell a few things before you go get a crappy job. But, the first business I started, I delivered pizzas at night because I was starting a business, and that kept the bills up.
Yeah.
And allowed me to grow my business with my passion.
Yeah,
So,
and you can get a crappy job in the field you're trying to start a business in,
Yeah,
right?
make those connections.
Yeah.
Network a little bit.
Yeah.
well, that's great. I mean, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. You could find something. I didn't have to deliver pizzas, you know?
Yeah.
right? But you're right. I mean, you could be working on that as well. And all right, so for folks that are just considering starting a business, is there like a hard stop? Like, no, really, you should not start a business that y'all have seen?
We try and find a solution. It's not necessarily no, you should not start a business. It's no, you should not start a business right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's always going to be a solution to the problem. It'll just extend the time that you would have to wait to start your business.
Like, what would be an example?
Let's say you have, you want to start a brick and mortar and your credit score is like 400. Oof. Yeah. There are people that would help you out. Our micro lender, Live Fund, that's housed there in our office, actually helps people with credit scores in 500s, like in the 500s.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
That's
what?
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, there are limitations.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
you know, if
Wow,
you're looking for a loan and you don't have that history or the credit, it's not going to happen. So maybe put a plan in place with your lender institution to get your credit up. You know, so that you can
Start working on building your credit, or look for alternate sources. I would say, I'm not going to say most small businesses, but I would say a pretty large percentage of small businesses start with a loan from family, or start with a personal investment.
Yes.
Or it's a low entry barrier to entry. It's not a lot of money to put
Right.
up. Like,
Good.
I don't know. Some service-based industries would be cheaper, you know,
Yeah.
if you're starting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You know, back in the day, like you come from food, and
I come from food.
don't we all? So, but I come from horticulture. You know, my history, 100 years ago was in horticulture, and we used to joke all the time about you'd see 8 new landscape businesses a month. Right, and 6 months later, it'd be a whole different set, and it's because the barrier to entry is basically a shovel and a pickup, right? So, and most of those guys already had a pickup, so they're good to go. Buy a shovel and hit the road, and so finding businesses that you can start, and starting a sort of pocket business is a great way to get started on figuring out how to run a business, and then getting over that hump is a thing. So, I mean, from my perspective, you know, is it the right time to start a business? Yes, definitely. Just talk about size.
Yeah.
You know, think about scale.
Yeah.
Think about starting with something very, very small. Go, you know, if you're a handicrafter, or you know, you do work with leather or carpentry, or you really like landscaping. Those are all very low barrier to entry jobs that you can start by selling a small thing in a big way.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
and so those are all things that give you an idea of how to run a business.
Yeah.
But being dedicated, I think, is huge. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's no barrier for when you can start a side hustle. Like you can
side
hustle.
That's true.
But yeah. So you can, if it's a field you want to. I think life decisions are like what's going on in your life right now. If you've got major things in your life right now, it may not be the time to start a brick and mortar or to start something that's going to take all of your time and energy. And I think it varies what that is for you. But if there's big things in your life right now, it might not be the right time.
We encourage side hustle.
Side hustle.
We encourage it because, you know, if you're looking to start big, you need to have collateral. Like, the lender has to know, hey, they're going to be able to pay me back.
Right.
If you're
absolutely.
unemployed and struggling, I don't think that's going to happen for you.
Right.
Not unless you have a huge savings and a huge owner investment to put in.
Right. Well, and if you're talking about some sort of service-based entries, that side hustle is a big deal when you make the big moves to doing it full time because you bring those clients with you.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. I mean, that happened with Bar. That happened with
absolutely.
Small stuff that grew into something much, much larger. That becomes your foundation. And while you're refining your product or your service, and while you're learning how to run your own business, because you know it's a big learning curve. While you're learning how to run your own business, you're building your business at the same time. And lenders are looking for cash flow. Did you get any money in? They're looking for profitability. Did you keep any of the money that you started with? And so if you can show 2 or 3 years of cash flow and profitability, even if it's small, it showed that you know how to manage a business.
Right.
And so that helps. It adds to credit score. It adds to, the ability to say, hey, mom, dad, brother, whatever, listen, we're doing really well. I've got half a dozen clients. I'm ready to go out and expand.
Mm-hmm.
How do I do this, right? And I just need you to give me a couple $1,000s to get started, or 10,000 or 100,000, whatever the business
Just a couple.
So briefly, as an aside, I want to talk for a second about online businesses.
Okay.
Because that comes up a lot. A lot of folks want to sell an online business. I want to sell stuff online. And the barrier to entry, guys, listen honestly, the barrier to entry is close to zero. There's a thing that tech companies do, for example, that they'll sell product that doesn't exist. In fact, it hasn't even been invented yet. It'll start with, hey, we've got this great new product coming out, add your email if you're interested, and then when they hit, 10,000 emails, then they know they have to invent the product because enough people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do market research. And if you only get a couple hundred emails, then you can tell those folks, hey, it didn't work out, but stay tuned for our next great product. And
Good way to get investors.
Yeah. Total investment is.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to start that. But online businesses, most of them start with an idea, a product, or some version of Etsy. That I make a small thing and grow from that. Yes, you can start that business yesterday for no dollars. For $0. You can find an online creator. You can go with, I need a site today for a couple $100, get a professional site. Not that that's a pitch. But there's easy ways to get started with the business.
Right.
The thing you have to know is it's a business, right? Your website is one of 100 million websites.
Yeah.
And of those 100 million, 100,000 of them are doing exactly the same thing.
Right.
Which means that you have to network and grow exactly the same as you would any other business. You have to get in touch with people that are going to help you grow your business, build your clients. And that website has to lead to a personal connection, and that's how you grow those things. There's nothing on the line, online that works with the if you build it they will come concept. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
There's too much noise. You have to build it and then create some sort of foundation.
Right.
A website can be a storefront, but it has to be something real. So yes, right now is the best time to start your business online. Of course it is, because there's a very low barrier to entry, but you can't just leave it sit and hope, because it doesn't work.
No, you have to network. It has to be relational. Even the best Etsy shops. I mean, when you buy something from Etsy and they put like a little handwritten note in, it just makes you.
It's
feel
awesome.
So
I just got one of those
warm
recently.
and fuzzy. I love it. It'll be somebody I've never met before, and they
take the time.
Yeah, I just bought some stuff for my baby nieces, and there was this cute little handwritten note, and she made them all custom, and it was really, it makes you feel good. You gotta put the time in.
There has to be a personal
customers.
connection.
Yeah. That's how your customers get to know you.
And the next time I need something similar, I'm not gonna search. I'm going to that same person.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
Right.
And you're going to go to that person because you have a personal connection. It's the reason online reviews work. It's the reason that that most businesses grow from the inside out. And so that is a vital part of growing any business. If you're ready to grow your business, you better be willing to sell to your mom, or your brother or your neighbor. Hey, check out this great thing. And there's a lot of pyramid businesses that start that way. Scentsy really grows that way. You can get into starting a business that way by having an independent franchise, but still recognize it's your business and you have to grow it door to door. Your business can grow exactly the same as Scentsy does, or exactly the same as any of the doTERRA and those sorts of things. It can grow the same way, because it all depends on personal connection.
Well, and it almost has to. It almost has to. There's not really a way around it. You're going to have to make some sort of connection. And the internet is a great way to make connections with people you've never met before in real life.
Yeah.
But you still have to make those connections and work at it.
Yes.
They have to know your personality.
Yeah. Yep. That's why YouTube is so successful.
Yeah, because you can see the person.
Yeah, you can see the person.
Yeah, and vlogs right now are huge.
Vlogs are huge
because you can get to know them.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I spend some time on YouTube.
Oh, every morning while I'm putting my face on, I'll be watching somebody else put their face on.
Yes! It's like a thing. You're just like doing makeup with your friends. I do that too.
Oh, it's so
I've
fun.
never done
Addicting, that. You should do it. Get ready with me.
Next week, stay tuned.
Monday
I'll have my
motivation.
face on.
Yes. Fabulous lashes.
So I'll work on it. I have naturally fabulous lashes. I'm just saying. So, all right. So then, yes, I would say that it is the right time to start your business, but start small, make personal connections, and do some business planning.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, in my opinion, a full business business plan. You know, it doesn't have to be 17 pages to start a business. It can be make a note on a napkin. I've seen some great sales made from napkins. A good friend of mine did that. That was his design process. He would sit down with them and a sheet of paper, and he would sell 10 grand every time he sat down with a napkin. So it doesn't have to be a plan, but have some sort of thought.
Yes.
Think it through before you just go jump in. Don't quit your job. But if you're really all in, find something that supports you while you build.
Yeah.
Sell to your family. Start small and do a little bit of planning, and your business can be successful. Oh, and find a friend.
Find a friend.
Use the buddy system for businesses. Even if they do exactly what you do, that's probably the best advice you can get as somebody who's going through exactly the same thing.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
cool. Anything else you guys want to add?
Yes, actually, if I wanted to plug the big event for the Small Business Development Center. I know this sounds a little weird, but it's going to be a reverse trade show where small businesses go to talk to the big guys. We're going to have the Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, Exxon Mobil people there, so that you can talk to the big wigs, you know, about doing business with them. And they're looking for people from anywhere from like makeup artists to construction workers, people like that. And we're going to have a bunch of really great vendors. Paravar is going to be there. If you guys want more info, you can go to thebigeventcc, as in CorpusChristi.com, or go to our website. I have a banner up on there. Shoot me an email. Let me know. We can register you or give me a call.
Awesome. That's going to be great. And being able to access the vendors is huge. Another pro tip for y'all. If you're selling to residential, you have to sell 1,000 to make for the one business to business. So if you're selling direct to consumer, that's really good. Just invest in marketing. If you're selling business to business, one good relationship can make or break you. So so this is a great opportunity to get out and shake hands with some people that are really, really game players and really can bring a lot of dollars. One thing you said that's really important, you think about like Exxon, for example. Exxon is huge. I mean, it sounds redundant, but with a company that size, they need someone for literally everything. They need people just to give them advice. They need someone to sell them pencils. They need somebody to sell them Christmas gifts so that they can distribute them to the team. They need somebody to mop the floors. They're so big that they probably have a slot for what you do. So being able to handshake with those big vendors at events like the big event, that's a really big deal. Secondly, if you want advice on how to run a business, somebody that runs a multi-billion-dollar business probably has good advice.
Yeah, just saying.
Just saying. So things like the big event, if you want to know how to start or run your small business, get out there, because you're going to make the connections. Even if you sell candles for a living, they need to buy candles.
Yeah.
And so no matter what you do, get out there and talk to these folks, because it's going to be really good.
Absolutely.
Amber, you've got something exciting coming up.
I've got a class coming up on August 27th?
Yep.
27th about building relationships online. And guys, that's kind of what I was talking about a little bit. But it's really important to build those relationships online. So we're going to talk a lot about the old customer relationship model when it was just a face-to-face thing, and how that translates to online business and building your social media, and how you can utilize the old rules and which old rules just don't work anymore. So, yeah.
Be exciting.
Cool.
It's
So
bringing
online, offline,
Yes.
talking with major vendors. Man, this is big.
We got a lot going on.
And Corpus Christi's growing like a weed, y'all. Sorry, I'm kind of country. But Corpus Christi's is growing very, very quickly, and there's been in my lifetime very few opportunities for businesses to grow that compare to right now. With changes in the economy, or changes in sort of the way that our social structure works
Yeah.
as a city, this is a great
We're in a
time.
good
So
spot.
start a business, get out there and win, and love your
Yay.
business.
Absolutely.
So cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Jeff, Amber, Monica, and
See you next week.
Yep.
that's.
That's